Good day, guys. So today at Time Merchants, we have plenty of watches to show you. My name is Chris. I'm the owner, and today we're gonna have around 14 watches that came in. A lot of them are quite interesting, quite a, let's say, like heavy Rolex selection this week, but each one has a little perky little thing. So let me start this week with a really cool 809 Navi timer. So this watch is one of the coolest Navi timers from the time. So what's cool about this watch, we're gonna put it here on camera so you'll see it. What's interesting is that the dial is a 24-hour dial, and this one is in pretty good shape. Sadly, we just posted it yesterday on the website, and it's already sold. I have a few other watches that are not yet on the website, so you're gonna be able to most probably see them in the next few days. This one has everything, so box, papers, and it's a pretty complete. This one is in very good condition overall. The case back is very clean. The sides they do look like they have been polished in the past, but it is what it is. It's a 1967 watch, and we put a really nice Rios 1931 German strap on that, and it just highlighted the whole watch altogether. The dial was almost, or if not immaculate. The only flaw that the watch would have from a collector's perspective is that the two hands, the hour and the minute hands, have been replaced in the past with Super Luminova, so those do detract a bit from the originality of the watch, but overall it's still very good. The second one, this one also I have box and papers with it. It's a 1808. So this one is, we call those the pancakes. So they're pretty heavy on the wrist in terms of the presence. You need to be pretty tall or pretty big in terms of wrist size to be able to wear those. What's cool about this is the fact that it has the box, the papers, and it's very complete from my perspective. Again, we had to change the strap. I put a really nice Rios 1931 on this German little strap, super cool, and it just makes it pop. And for someone who really likes those, great watch. Then if we go with the Rolex selection of this week, there's quite a few Datejusts, day date, some early 1940s boy size watches, the observatory ones. I have two of them here. Then an Explorer, a 1501, two Datejusts. One is a pipe pen here, one is a 16014, and then a 16013, which I will show you here on camera. This is a pretty cool one because it's I believe 1986. It has the box and the papers, and the interesting part about this one is the cream dial, especially cream dial on a Roman numeral of this era is quite rare. I've rarely seen them, and they really don't pop up very often. Most of the time you're gonna see the boiler gauge type dial, which is also gonna be cream, but the Roman numeral ones are a bit more tricky to find. And if you want one, well, we have one right now with the box, the papers. It even has the calendar. The whole thing is with the watch, so this is a pretty complete one. Then next one in the line is gonna be a 1807. So this reference, despite the fact that a lot of people know about the 1803, the 1807 is just different because of the bezel and normally the bracelet, which are bark finished, so they're hand chiseled, and they have that really unique, more toned down type of look. So you might love it or hate it. In this case, what's interesting about it is that we have a white boy dial, which is the only difference between a regular dial and this one, or a white. This one is called a white boy, is because the markers are just a bit wider and the hands are also wider than the regular ones. So everything is a bit more sticky, in terms of or the width is a bit larger on everything, but it just makes everything look a bit cleaner, I find. Even though those are popping up, everything else, the fact that there's a lack of lume everywhere else, and the fact that the everything is pretty cleaned up just makes it very different from what you see every day. So that's a cool one. We got it from the original owners, and you can see here even the case back is in unpolished condition. So when watches like this are untouched, it becomes a bit more attractive. So the next one in the bunch is gonna be something a bit special, even though it's a bit beat up, even though it's had its share of life in the past. This is a Submariner Bart Simpson. So what's cool about those is that the coronet has some kind of we call that a printing error or some type of a distinctive feature about the coronet itself. Also, this dial is a gill dial, so we're gonna see it here. You're gonna see that the dial is far from being perfect, and it does have some brown spots and black spots throughout, as well as a lot of pitting in the lacquer and cracking. And you're also gonna see a bunch of little defects on the side and on the topper end. But that's part of those vintage watches. A lot of them have been doctored, played around with, and this one, what's cool about it is that all the lume is intact, even though it's green, even though it's uneven in color. It's something that some people might appreciate. So the watch is pretty honest. It has been slightly polished in the past, and it had it, share of life, as I said before. So this is something for someone who doesn't want to spend double, triple the price on a very good one. So this is going to be available on the website in the next few days, and you're going to see that it's pretty presentable. Obviously, when you have direct light on the dial, you'll see that there's a bunch of defects. On the website, I did take a few pictures of it in certain angles where you see the brown spots, the black spots, and everything. So that's a pretty cool one. The insert is also original for it, which is the long 5. The long 5 is very distinctive because of it really rectangular lower end of the 5. So if you guys don't know what that is, that's just something that was made until 1968, 1969. Yeah, so basically you'll see that insert on a lot of the 1960s watches. So that's a pretty cool feature, as well as all the other Submariners that we have at the moment. They're quite interesting. Now we have something that is a bit, again, it's not the most pretty lady out there, but we do have here a Paipan 1603 from 1964, 65, if I do remember well. Those tend to turn lavender. They all have a bit of lavender effect in the color of the dial. This one again, it's not a prettiest lady out there. It does have some major lume loss, the little mark between 7 and 8 o'clock. But overall, it's a very affordable Rolex. That's one of those watches that many people will enjoy for first watch, or for something that they're just gonna love it for what it is. And the fact that you have a gray dial, which is a bit more rare in those cases. Then we have a really pretty one. This is a 16014. This is pretty much unpolished case. I don't see any marks of previous tinkering with the watch itself. The case is good. The bezel is very sharp for the age. It still has a couple of marks because it has been worn. But what's very attractive about this one, despite the fact that it's just a regular silver dial, the lume plots are very orange, including on the hands, which are matching with the dial. It is very interesting. Perfect first watch. Even if you have multiple watches, this could be your daily. Just the fact that it's so clean. This is a pretty much minimalist look for Datejust again. The fact that the whole dial is flat, there's nothing standing out or trying to take your attention away from its simplicity. So that's a very good starter's watch as well. Then something that's more for collectors, I have here a 5501 Explorer. Normally the 5501s, you're gonna see that they're gonna be Air Kings. So for more Air King models out there, they are known for their classic silver dials, maybe sometimes the gold dials. In this case, so it's a two-tone case. So the 5501 Explorer has the 369 dial with the Honeycomb feature throughout, and this one comes overall very, very well. Same thing, the case is very sharp from the time. The case back has a bit more wear, especially on the flat part, but overall it's still a very presentable watch. All the Lume is original to the watch. We do have a Geiger counter here, which I'm going to turn on, and we're going to see that it's going to be just going crazy. So as you hear, it hits 600, 800 CPM quite fast. Those watches you're going to enjoy, especially when you have them on hand and the light will hit in a certain angle where we're going to see the pattern of the dial. That's going to be really unique to it. So that's something a bit more for a more avid collector or someone who really desires to have one. We always try to keep them in very reasonable pricing range just to make it right, but they do come more often, I'd say, in Canada more than in other places. I had one in the past that was a gill dial, and I believe the Singapore buyer still has it right now. Actually, he's selling it on eBay, so if you want to check it out, you'll see that there is another one similar to this, but a gill dial, and that was mine in the past. Next, we're gonna see, I'm gonna do them both together. Those are boy size Rolexes. They're both Royal Elite. One of them is the Observatory version. The other one is just a Royal Elite by itself. Very similar cases, but again, one of them is slightly smaller. They both have red hands. They both have the syringe hands as well for the hour and the minute hands. Both still react very highly with the Geiger counter. So you're gonna see it here. Just gonna turn it on, and as you hear, it's just banging like crazy. So we're hitting already 1500, around 1500 CPM. They're pretty reactive as they sit. Nothing dangerous again. They're as long as you don't touch the radium, as long as you don't ingest it, no danger there. But the cases are pretty honest. They haven't been tampered with really over those years. Most of those really come in original condition just because they have been cherished by people that never really wanted to polish them. They're so small, you don't really ding them around, so those are pretty good. Also, one of them does have a bigger crown, so I'll show them both side by side. So one of them has a slightly smaller crown, the other one has a much bigger crown than what we see originally on those early models, but it's both original crowns. One of them is the Oyster patent, and the other one as well, just the Rolex Oyster crown. Both are really original to the watch themselves, but they just made them in different shapes and forms. Back in the time, they were still trying to find perfect crown for the watch. So even in, I believe in 1952, they came up with the Super Oyster crown, which was basically looking like a regular crown, but it wasn't screwing on the watch itself. I've had, including a vintage pre-Daytona 6234 that had that Super Oyster crown. Then we're gonna go with something a bit more odd in terms of a watch, including the fact that this is not a diver's watch. It's just a regular Baume Mercier from the front, but when we look at the back, you do have the type of case that basically just compresses itself as you dive deeper and actually protects the watch from getting water inside. So that's a really cool little case, and that's called the Suspense. It's the 1192 reference. We don't see those very often. It's my first one so far. It has a really nice blue dial. I didn't clean up the crystal that much. I just wanted it to be as original as possible. So this watch is gonna be serviced very soon, and it's gonna be hitting the website right after. That's also something that I really enjoy looking at, just because it does resemble a vintage Longines or Omega from the time, but it just looks different as soon as you look at the back and as soon as you look at the name on the dial. But that's something that people don't realize, that Baume Mercier was making some really cool watches back then. Next, I'm gonna go with something that's a 1960s re-edition. So this is something that you've seen many times in the past. They've been reviewed, everyone talked about them, and it's the Legend Diver. In this case, it's the blue dial. You're gonna have a very good re-edition of the original one with golden markers throughout the dial, and this one does have a really sexy blue vignette fading throughout the dial. That's really interesting. On the side here, you do have the hash marked crowns as well. The dial is well made throughout. The top crown is going to be adjusting inner bezel. You're gonna see the inner bezel being turned by the crown. This crown is also screwed down. It's very interesting as a design. This one is still brand new, so it still has the sticker. So for someone who wants to save maybe 30-40% on the MSRP, I have this in stock right now, and it's gonna be posted in a few days. Then something that I haven't seen before, Omega Constellation. In this case, it's a Dennison case. So it does look from outside like any regular Constellation case from the 1950s. This also reacts to the Geiger counter. I did it earlier, and it's really showing that it's probably from the 1950s. So this one is pretty interesting just because it has the Dennison case. This was made for the UK market. Most Dennison cases are 9 karat, 10 karat cases when they're in solid gold, but in this case it's really an 18 karat gold case. The watch is super heavy. It's really well made. I just replaced the crown by a new old stock one as well, and it's just amazing. The condition is really good for the age. There's a lot of sleeve wear obviously on the lugs, but overall it's very good. I really enjoy those watches. Again, they come in different dials, they come in different cases. Each one has little differences. Again, this one, just because it's a Dennison case, it doesn't have a regular reference number. This one we're gonna have to go by just by the age of the movement, and we're not gonna have a reference to this. We're gonna finish off with something that I really enjoy for this week's find. This is a Movado by Zenith El Primero, and this is a really big V-shaped watch. So what's cool about those is that they all have blue dials. Some of them have aged in a very curious pattern because of the blue, the way they were etching them on the brass with oxidation. Sometimes they age with really different patterns and different bubbles or whatnot. In this case, the watch was not worn, it was just basically in a drawer for the past maybe 50 years or so. So overall, the watch doesn't look polished at all, doesn't have any wear marks whatsoever. It will have a couple of little marks on the top just because of the way it was sitting, most probably in that drawer. So this is something that I also enjoy when we find quirky watches like this that are in near perfect condition. And this is the most probably my preferred watch of the week. And I'm gonna be making a future video about one or two watches that I prefer out of the lot. Thank you very much for being here. If you enjoy more, just give us a little message and call us if needed. If you want any of those watches, they're going to be on the website. Thank you again for being with us, and subscribe to the channel whenever you like what we're doing. Just encourage us if you can, and we'll do a bit more. We'll try to find more pieces that are really unique and pleasant to the eye. Thank you guys.